Well, today we came out here to tour one of our restoration projects here on the river, and it's part of a 2-day classroom experience that we've provided for elected and appointed officials throughout the watershed. Macomb County, Oakland County, and then there's little bits of other counties in here too. We had about 30 people today and yesterday, and the second part of today was coming out in the watershed and looking at some of the projects that have taken place here. So we've been here. Saw portions of a 9-mile long restoration project that's wrapping up. And then we were also over in east of here at the Sterling Relief Drain, which is a project that's going to get started this spring. And they're all part of the Area of Concern program, and we have a substantial amount of funding that came into Macomb and Oakland counties over the last 5 years, approximately $22 million for projects to help restore this river.
That alone had 120,000 cubic yards of debris that we had to remove from the river. It's actually, now it's navigable for the first time, this 9-mile stretch, since the 1970s. So it was a pretty cool thing that we were able to do. Let's start walking. So this area, there was a huge log jam that was stretched across this river in this area, and it ended up being over-widened. And so as a result, as the river was kind of coming through here, you can see that it was cutting, and it was going to keep cutting. So what we ended up doing is, by removing that log jam, we allowed the river to, in essence, fix itself. So the hump over there, from kind of that 20 feet, you can see it's a little bit lower elevation. This is the river as it's going around, depositing sediment and building up a new bank. The water level, as we mentioned before, was a little bit higher right now. There's a riffle in through here, and that is great because it reduces the energy of the river, right? As it's coming down in this straight stretch and it hits that bank, we don't want it to go too fast because then it's going to keep eroding the river, eroding the bank. So we put in structures that would slow that down a little bit and protect the bank over there. So when we came here in 2014, this was considered one of the reaches that needed work on it, but not a critical reach, because we had some other stuff kind of there and there. You know, we had this money, which is great, but we had to still do some value judgment and decide what to do and what not to do. And what happened with this project, since this river is so powerful, things changed. So by 2016, when we got here, the path was about to fall in, this entire bank was eroded, and we had to do something. And so a lot of the coordination, a lot of what happened between the engineers and the contractor was this communication back and forth. Well, we can't really do this. We have to get this done. So what else can we, in essence, move around here and there? So for this, we installed stone toe protection, which is a little bit strong. It's not as natural as toe wood, for example. However, we needed more immediate support because we didn't want it to continue to erode. And you see all these trees that would have been lost as a result. So there's some additional fabric that was put in. There's an additional log underneath to kind of prevent, in essence, you're stacking these things so you're got a lot more protection, because we want this to be, in essence, a solid structure. We don't want water to come through and scour away all the good material in through here, because then it's not really serving its purpose and it's just going to erode this bank again. And so the contractor, and I wish I didn't have anything to do with this design portion, but they came up, and one of our designers came up with a concept that would provide that support on this river that, again, it is 8 foot deep, which is not typical for this sort of work, right? We are usually doing this in streams and channels that are either 5 foot deep, or even if they're this wide, they're not going to have the force and velocity that we're dealing with. Because remember, the Clinton River, the watershed in this area, we're talking about Oakland and Macomb counties. Think of how much development is there, and everything that hits the pavement in these parking lots and every little strip ends up in this river.
Well, we're here because we developed the Michigan Water School program. We had seen a program at a conference that Florida had developed, and Michigan is water. So what better place than to have a Michigan Water School to educate elected and appointed officials, state representatives, local citizens on water resources, and primarily who is responsible for doing what.